Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Review of the Nerds. I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike, and today we are reviewing Independence Day Resurgence. I had 20 years to lower my expectations, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, everybody, so the sequel to Independence Day has finally come out. This thing has been talked about for years, on and off, like a lot of other movie sequels. Now it's finally here. And the basic plot to this movie is that the aliens come back, we shoot at them, they butt-fuck the planet, we shoot at them some more and win. Mike?
Yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. This movie is pretty much the cutscenes from a video game, except worse, because at least there's some effort put into those.
And for video games, that's fine, but pacing in a video game and pacing in a movie are two very different things. You cannot handle it the same way. Pacing has become a huge thing for me.
There really isn't much of a story. If you saw the first one, it's pretty much just a repeat. And the movie's a giant rehash of so many different films. Like, there is elements just ripped off. It is so incredibly cliche.
The first Independence Day was not this groundbreaking sci-fi masterpiece. It really wasn't, but it was fun. It had charm in the right places. You know, the characters were... We had a variety of characters that you could say there's too many, but at least we had some people to relate to in some ways.
Was it a masterpiece? No, but it was a huge game changer at the time. It redefined the disaster genre for the next 20 years. You've had so many movies try to copy what Independence Day did, so I think it's all due respect. And the thing the movie did so well is combined so many different genres into it. I mean, it was funny, it was serious, it was exciting. You cared about the characters.
Yes. When I say it's not a masterpiece, don't think I'm dissing it. I still enjoy the first film. I'll watch it again and still have fun with it. In this one, it's just like a lot of them bringing back the old characters, introducing some new characters, and just back and forth of, hey, remember this from the first film? Hey, remember that from the first film? Oh, I know you're going to remember this from the first film, but we're giving kind of redos in this one, so you can connect it back. It's like, shut up. That's fine if you want to throw little things in there, but if you're depending on these little things to really like make me go, oh my god, I'm having fun, then it's a bad film because lack of creativity just bugs the fuck out of me.
In the first movie, the aliens, right? They're mysterious. You don't really get a very good look at them until the end. You only get so much knowledge about them. You know that they were there in Roswell, New Mexico. Nice little touch, by the way, Roland Emmerich for the first film. And then in this movie, they shine a huge light, a spotlight on, how they operate. And it turns out the whole thing is a giant hive mind with a queen bee alien on top of the pyramid. We've never seen that before.
Oh, no, never in my life. I thought it was quite an original concept, if I do say so. No! That pissed me off so much. I'm going to let you continue. I just want to get that out real quick. It's a hive alien, it's a queen.
Yeah. You've seen it so many times before. James Cameron, I think, really took off and made that concept popular with Aliens, where there's a giant queen alien at the end, which this thing looks a lot like, by the way. And then you have Starship Troopers. Again, a hive mind with like a intelligence at the epicenter of it. You have the Borg Queen. It's such an overused concept, and it's such a cop-out because it's such an easy way to explain how this whole thing works. And it really minimizes the aliens to me from the first film. Like, what made them scary to me is that they were mysterious, and you didn't totally know all the ins and outs of them, and they seemed highly intelligent. Their ability for telepathy and their bioengineered suits and everything, this seemed to make them just come across like a bunch of brainless drones. It wasn't handled that well. It was just out of nowhere, randomly they pieced it together like, oh, there must be a queen, and she must be in the ship, and we must now destroy the ship to destroy her. Our
entire species and the way we work and operate depends on whether or not the queen is still alive and functional. Let's bring her right into the combat zone. They're not going to get to her. She'll be fine. We're all going to be done. No, stop that. It's just an easy way for them to defeat the aliens. This isn't capture the fucking flag. This is an alien invasion. All right? Why are you bringing the one being in your entire society that you all rely on into that combat zone, okay? I don't care how pissed she was that we blew up the last ship, alright? For Christ's sakes.
And how many times have we seen, like, an army dismantled by taking out one, like, factor to the whole thing? Like Avengers, Episode 1 Star Wars, like, suddenly the whole army is just completely useless without this consciousness. I don't know. That's such a cop-out to me. And the movie, that's one of the things about it. It's so heavy with cliches and things that you can watch the film and predict every single thing someone's going to say in a scene. And every single event that's going to take place in the film. There was no surprises. There was nothing that shocked me. The goddamn dialogue was so bad.
Yeah, it's like this.
So bad. It's incredibly spoon-fed exposition. Nobody's really talking to each other in this movie. It's so flat. There's one part in the movie where someone says something like, "Here's some fireworks for you, bitch. Happy 4th of July." It's like, my fucking God.
Yeah.
This dialogue is garbage. If there's one more goddamn reference to Independence Day, 4th of July, or fireworks in one of these goddamn puns in this movie, I was just gonna walk out. It was so bad. And the speeches, the rally speeches to get people going.
Enjoy the fireworks. I'm gonna go get some funnel cake.
Dude. It was seriously like the quality of like a 12-year-old writing it. It was terrible. This could have used a few more drafts, at least. The characters were so one-dimensional.
Oh my God, so bland. And even some of the performances from the actors, not all of them, but some of them were just like, no, the character bland, the performance was bland. I mean, I was like, how do you expect me to give a crap about these people?
Yeah, they managed, and this is a hard thing to do, they managed to take previously established characters, fan favorites, characters that we really responded to in the first film, and they make you just stop giving a shit about them at all in this movie. How do you do that? How do you manage that? All you have to do is carry the baton from that movie into this movie. So many of the original cast feel so reduced and minimized. Like Bill Pullman has just become the crazy kook Randy Quaid character from the first movie. That no one believes him, and then he has a "I'm back" moment, basically.
Yeah.
This is also a movie that has Jeff Goldblum returning to the scene. He has kind of been in the shadows for a while, and I was kind of excited to see him again, but he really doesn't have much to do in this movie. As a matter of fact, I forgot that he was even in the scene half the time. One of the returning characters from the first movie, but not the same actor, is Will Smith's character, Steve Hiller's son, all grown up. And he is so incredibly uninteresting. Man, you are letting down your charismatic dad, kid. Okay, he brought the goddamn A game. Will Smith's absence is really felt in this movie. There is definitely a lack of charisma that he brought to the original. We needed some of that in this one. Will Smith, you made a really good call not being in this and being in Suicide Squad instead, but the way they handle your exit is so unsatisfying.
Will Smith's character died between movies. How did he die? He died test piloting one of the new jets.
Off-screen.
Off-screen.
And
what? This guy flew an alien aircraft out of our atmosphere and into a mothership, and he dies being a test pilot.
I mean, this would be like if they couldn't get back Harrison Ford for Empire Strikes Back, and then they just mentioned, oh yeah, off-screen, oh yeah, by the way, Han Solo, he died after the first movie. The thing is that they are put into a corner that's difficult, the writers and producers, whatever, you know, what are we going to do now that our star won't come back? I understand that, but the way that they revealed it in the movie felt so casually just thrown away, like...
Yeah, I mean, you don't need Will Smith to put charisma and charm into a film, but since this movie has none of it, Will Smith would have helped this out a lot.
Not Thor, the 50% discount Thor, yes.
Oh.
Liam Hemsworth. He's not as charismatic as his brother, we'll say right now. I'm sorry, but I just did not feel him, and he kind of took over the Will Smith role. And there's characters that die in this movie that were in the original movie. It was laughable. I didn't care when they died. I would have cared if they died in the first movie, but in this movie, I didn't care. And that's the thing with this movie, is that I thought it was hilarious, and not in the right way. Brent Spiner returns as the washed-out hippie doctor from the first movie who is researching aliens in Area 51, miraculously returning from the grave, apparently, except he's been in a coma all this time, and it's like he's in a totally different movie, like a comedy or something. Like how the moment that he comes out of his coma reminded me of the moment when Lloyd comes out of coma in Dumb and Dumber 2. It was just so goofy and over the top, it did not belong in this movie. But the one thing I will say for Brent Spiner is that he at least tried something, okay? All the other actors were just phoning it in. He at least was trying to do something, and even though he was a little out of place, he was by far the most entertaining thing in this movie. And the new characters, there's like new characters they threw into this. Fuck all of them. And I only really mean to trash the characters, not the actors, because I enjoy most of them in other films. But there's a female scientist love interest for Jeff Goldblum that randomly pops up at one point.
What happened to his wife from the first film? I thought they got back together. No!
There's this love interest for him that... Do you remember her at all in this movie other than the very first scene she appears in? She's in... The funny thing is she's actually in the whole movie.
Yeah.
But she's in the background.
Yeah.
I barely remember. The president... I don't know, she's a throwaway. I don't even remember anything about her.
Yeah.
You got these stupid comedic reliefs. Hemsworth, he has a little sidekick guy. And then there's another stupid character following around Jeff Goldblum who's like this, like... I don't know, like, suit dude that can't fire...
We need to report in. We need authorization. We don't have confirmation yet. Can we oh my?
Were they supposed to be funny because they were just annoying?
Yeah, there was another problem. There's all these extra characters in the film. Hell, there is a group of kids in this film that I am not joking have no fucking purpose. It's not me dissing the child actors. That has nothing to do. They have no purpose.
So randomly, Jeff Goldblum's dad survives a tidal wave of destruction. He's like the only survivor in a whole city that's dead, pretty much. Yeah. Which is absolutely ridiculous, and destroyed the destruction sequence. And he comes across this car of children, and then eventually a school bus of children. And at the end, he just so happens to come upon the scene when they're trying to destroy the queen. And he's like, oh, hey, son.
You know what was so funny about Judd Hirsch and these kids having no purpose and like not being needed in the film so much? I found it hilarious in the scene where Judd Hirsch is showing up and he's like yelling, David, why don't we ever spend time together anymore? And Jeff Goldblum's character is like, Dad, shut up! I'm trying to save the planet. The character is so fucking useless. Not even his son in the movie gave a fucking shit about him. You need faith. No, you need to get the fuck out of the way so we can kill the fucking aliens.
In the first movie, he was like this innocent, like, you know, likable, funny character. In this movie, he's just a nuisance. And then at the end, the way they cap him off, I honestly was creeped out. The way he responded, the glee and joy he had in the idea of these kids staying with him, a school bus of children, I thought was very weird and strange.
Yeah.
These kids were like, well, what are we going to do now? Can we stay with you? And he's like, I would like that very much. Yeah. The spectacle wasn't really there this time. I felt the disaster scenes were nowhere near as impressive as the first movie. The first movie, like, built up, and then it just delivered one of the most iconic destruction sequences ever filmed, for screen. And then this one, it just happens, and then there's like 5 minutes worth of stuff going on that, by the way, is slightly ripped off of Man of Steel. The whole concept of anti-gravity lifting cities and dropping them. We've seen this before too. And then it's over. And, like, the whole time they keep telling us how much bigger this is than the last one. Jeff Goldblum says it, we've all seen that in the trailer, but then his dad is like, son, it is definitely bigger than the last one. And it's not! Like, the visual effects are just standard. There's nothing groundbreaking in this movie. There's going to be no Oscar nominations for these effects. They work, but they're nothing mind-blowing. As a matter of fact, I would say they were inferior to the original because again, how many times do we have to say this? The integration of practical effects with CGI always is better than just going with one or the other. In this one, it's almost all CGI. The aliens are even CGI. In the first one, there was more tangible, real elements to the destruction that made it feel more real world. By the way, getting into real world, another thing about this is I felt slightly detached from the destruction in this movie. One of the things that worked so well about the first one is it was our world being destroyed. It was our world being attacked. There's New York City. There's Washington, D.C. In this movie, we're existing in an alternate reality. And by the way, I can appreciate the sci-fi concept here, but at the same time, I was detached. I didn't feel a connection to the things that were being destroyed in this movie.
This is like an alternate version of our society and our world. That didn't really bother me that much, because it's not like they couldn't pretend like, oh, we just went back to exactly the way things were before. That didn't bother me, because I don't care if the setting is... as long as the characters are relatable or interesting in some way, that's more important to me. But unfortunately, like Mike has gone over, like, a lot of the characters, they weren't interesting. They weren't relatable. And it has a lot to do with a lot of standard characters and bland acting and just nothing that really grips me. I like the design of the new super mega mothership. I think it was a pretty decent design. And it was kind of cool to see alien technology integrated with our own, but then it's just like, it wasn't anything unique about it. Like, okay, we got fighter jets that have green, like, energy thrusters. But beyond that, they just look like standard fighter jets. There was no uniqueness or real creativity put into this film. One of the things that was really good in the first film that they didn't take time to do in this one is right after the initial devastation of all the cities across the globe in the first one, there's those moments, like especially like on Air Force One, where the characters are just sad and they're taking in the weight of the situation of millions of lives across the globe have just perished. In this one, there's no moment where the characters take a moment and just let it set in of, oh my god, it's happened again. They don't. There's not that weight of the lives lost. And that's something you need in a disaster film, especially an alien invasion film, where now the threat is like, oh, the rest of us could be next.
The closest they come to that is this really cheesy death sequence at the end of the movie, where I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be funny or not. He's like, who's gonna water the plants?
Another thing in this movie is that there are major plot holes, like, the aliens could have destroyed us easily. The ship moves really fast for an object that titanically massive. And if it could destroy a planet with its own gravity, all they had to do to wipe us out was just circle around the planet a few times to make sure to get all the major land masses. We would have all been dead in a fucking hour. But no, they just take out one fucking continent and they're like, the remaining humans can't possibly stop us. Even
they underestimated our resolve.
Yeah.
They underestimated America.
America! Yeah! 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 No. They show, like, when they first show up, just how, like, more prepared they are this time.
We had 20 years to get ready. So did they.
No. We had 20 years to get ready. We didn't. Another little side note. Our strategies against the aliens to fight back are so weak.
Yeah, and all you have to do to break the Queen's shields at the end is just shoot her a lot.
Yeah. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be, like, as good as the first one, but I didn't know. I wasn't expecting it to be just like, generic and bad. At the end of this movie, they set up that they are going to do more sequels. There's going to be a whole fucking franchise that they're going to take the battle into deep space, and it's going to be an interstellar combat. They're doing it again. They're making a movie just to set up more movies.
Universe building.
Enough of this bullshit. If you're going to do this, make the movie that is going to be the jumping point off for all these other ones. You have to make it just a good movie. Alright? If you cannot accomplish that, then you are wasting your money, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your talent. Stop it. Just make the first one good. I know this isn't the first movie in the franchise, but if you're going to do this, do it right. Because if you don't, any already established fan base is going to get pissed and not care.
I think if this movie proved anything, this is a concept that does not need a franchise. Like, this movie didn't even work. How are you going to do more movies when the second movie, right off the bat, doesn't work? The last line of this fucking movie is Brent Spiner running at the camera with utter joy and going like, let's kick some alien ass! Oh my god. No, let's not. It's not like the movie was the worst movie ever made.
No.
But it is an incredibly unsatisfying film. It's like a time capsule film. It's like it's trying to relive the glory days of the 90s, but it doesn't remember how to. I didn't leave angry, but I left just feeling kind of completely uninterested and just ready to move on. Weak attempt to make more money off of the concept. Let it be. Let it be, let it be.
Right. I'd watch it again if I had like a six-pack with me, but beyond that, yeah, no, I don't think I'd watch it again either. It's just there's nothing to really motivate me to. Yeah, guys, this movie just was totally disappointing. Pretty boring overall. I mean...
It's amazing to be as bored as I was during all these action sequences, but I didn't care about the character, so I wasn't invested in the action.
Yeah, that was a big problem. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's an issue we've talked about multiple times in other movies before, that if we're not invested in what the characters, it doesn't matter how amazing the action is, you're going to be pulled out of it.
The finale was so weak. You should have loved it, though, because there's a giant monster trampling on stuff.
Oh my god, I just realized that.
I changed everything for you. Now you love this movie.
No, I'm even more pissed. You had a giant monster in the film and it wasn't awesome. Well, everybody, thanks again for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Please let us know what you're thinking down in the comments. Did you agree with us, disagree with us? What other aspects you think could have been talked about? Whatever, just leave it down there. And please subscribe to our channel here. But until next time, I'm Vincent.
And I'm Mike.
And this has been
Review of the Nerds.
Catch you next time.
Happy 4th of July.